Oklahoma and Texas are desperately waiting for the power to come back on. AccuWeather's Bill Waddell with more on the story.
Fierce wind, huge hail, and tornadoes that hit East Texas and Oklahoma left hundreds of thousands of people without power. Now, the June heat wave sending AccuWeather real field temperatures well above 100 degrees.
Less air conditioning, less fans around, when people are dealing with extreme heat with no power, that can be a dangerous combination.
No, we're working as safely and quickly as possible to restore your service.
Utility crews from across the South have been called in and are working long shifts in sweltering heat to help repair snapped poles and down lines in Tulsa.
I do want to thank again our crews that are out in the field. It got a whole lot hotter out. They're going to restore people's power as quickly as they can.
Thousands of families lost all of the food they had in their refrigerator and freezer.
And I feel for people that, might have just bought groceries and now they're not going to be able to use that food.
The East Texas Food Bank is helping hundreds of families every day. The heat, limiting the hours volunteers can work outside, and the types of food that can be handed out.
It is very challenging. We are really trying to help as much as we can.
These heat waves can not only be inconvenient, but frankly, they can be deadly.
The American Red Cross has opened shelters. Stephanie Fox says these storms and widespread power outages should be a wake-up call for everyone.
It's really important for folks, even in areas where they may not be traditionally predisposed to these types of hazards, to always have a plan and be prepared.
For AccuWeather, I'm Bill Waddell.
Thanks, Bill. All right, folks, we have talked about severe weather season, we've talked about hurricane season, but don't forget, it is also wildfire season. And this season has had a very interesting setup so far. You'll notice a number of fires across...
I want to back up real quick where they was showing a display here of Texas being so hot right there.
And huge hail. And tornadoes that hit East Texas and Oklahoma left hundreds of thousands of people without power. Now, the June heat wave sending AccuWeather real field temperatures well above 100 degrees.
Now, there's no way for me to prove this, but God has showed me just within the past couple years that the oil distraction that we're doing to the earth is basically disrupting the ecosystem towards why the oil was ever put there to begin with. Texas is a well-known state that drains or pulls from the earth resources pertaining to oil more so than probably any other state in the United States. I know this is going to sound probably corny or weird, but the fact of the matter is that's one of the areas right there that does not have as thick of a heat shield, and because of it, there's more heat expanding from the center of the earth out to the outer layers of the earth. Once more, there's no way for me to be able to prove this, but I'm just telling you that God has showed me why the world is going to end as quickly as it's going to end. That basically we are on this time mission that we have created for ourselves, verified by the scriptures. It says that as you shall tangibly be able to see the days approaching, that no flesh shall be saved, but for the elect's sake those days would be shortened. In other words, we're going to be able to see the damages that mankind has done because of their hard-headedness and greed, that now we are experiencing these phenomenons that are only going to increase because of the distraction of oil. I understand that people like President Biden is trying everything that he can to convince people that global warming is real. Scientists, up until just within the past couple of years, has been focusing more on the upper levels of the atmosphere more so than below the ground. If you was to take every barrel of oil that has been drained from the earth since the creation of the automobile, which I believe was somewhere around the 1890s, I personally believe that you could fill the Grand Canyon up several times, not just to the top of the Hoover Dam, but to the very top of the rim of the Grand Canyon. And if you continue to do this year after year after year, and basically the oil extraction has only increased for the past 10 years every year because of the demands, because more people has gotten acquainted with the automobiles. More third world countries have evolved in having the same things as the Western world has. So the demands for the oil has increased every year. And what we're doing is basically killing ourselves. And I know whenever some people hear this, they'll say, "Oh, this guy don't know what he's talking about. He's only imagining this stuff." No, whenever you see signs like you're seeing right there of a whole state that started this back about 3 or 4 days ago, in the month of June, right here at the middle part of June. Now we're leaning more towards the latter part of June. But whenever you see records being broken like this in June, something is going on, not just with the upper atmosphere, but the lower ecosystem that we are disturbing. Now we have to ask ourselves the question, why and what is disturbing it? What is causing this? Today here in Tennessee, it's actually cooler than what it should be. So we're seeing these abstract abnormalities that's happening with Mother Nature going from one side to another side as quickly one way as we are another, that is causing these massive electrical disturbances that I personally was punished by Western Kentucky in 2007 by mentioning this around a Kentucky dam, that various people had created this anomaly in their own minds that I was going to, I guess, create electrical disturbances by doing something to the Kentucky dam to the point that they shut the dam down. People have wild imaginary imaginations, especially whenever it comes to people being evilly minded towards wanting to destroy God's people here upon to the earth and trying to eliminate their purposes and why that they was ever put here to begin with.
With less air conditioning, less fans around, when people are dealing with extreme heat with no power, that can be a dangerous combination.
Know we're working as safely and quickly as possible to restore your service.
Utility crews from across the South have been called in and are working long shifts in sweltering heat to help repair snapped poles and down lines in Tulsa.
I do want to thank again our crews that are out in the field. It got a whole lot hotter out. They're going to restore people's power as quickly as they can.
Thousands of families lost all of the food they had in their refrigerator and freezer.
And I feel for people that, might have just bought groceries and now.
And we know for a fact that the thermofrost has been melting up in the northern plains, up in Alaska and Canada, and the results from that is basically all the foliage that has been massive fires this year in Canada that has brought forth a great deal of harmful smoke into the American plateau that a lot of people consider to be very, very harmful. The world is warming up from the inside out, because if the sunlight was doing this, creating this anomaly, we as human beings and also other creatures wouldn't be able to go outside without getting second and third, possibly fourth degree burns. So we know that yes, the sun The upper atmosphere is only part of our problem, but it's not the atmosphere that is creating the problem. The problem is being created down here on the earth that is affecting the atmosphere above our heads. So until we understand what we're doing and the consequences in doing it, odds are there will never be a big movement of the Green New Deal that Joe Biden, the President of the United States, has been so intensely adequate about.
Groceries, and now they're not going to be able to use that food.
The East Texas Food Bank is helping hundreds of families every day. The heat, limiting the hours
But now every time this occurs, whenever there's an outbreak, it don't matter if it's an outbreak of heat, it don't matter if it's an outbreak of tornadoes, it don't matter if it's an outbreak of whatever, every time this occurs, it strains the resources. Because so many resources get wasted in an event like this, just like the power going out and all the woman's food going bad in the refrigerator. You're probably looking at $500. Most people have at least $500 worth of food stored away in their refrigerators. Well, once that goes bad like that, you're going to have to throw all that bad food out, and then you're going to have to go buy another $500 worth of food. So you're straining the resources every time this occurs. And this is just one area in America of the problems that I'm talking about. If you'll combine that with all the other 6 other continents here on the planet towards the draining of the resources because of various things happening, you will truly understand what I'm talking about. We are in a very, very dangerous point in time pertaining to our survivalist rating of where we're going to be at 2, 5, 7, and 10 years from now.
outside, and the types of food that can be handed out.
It is very challenging. We are really trying to help as much as we can.
These heat waves can not only be inconvenient, but frankly, they can be deadly.
The American Red Cross has opened shelters. Stephanie Fox says these storms and widespread power outages should be a wake-up call for everyone.
It's really important for folks, even in areas where they may not be traditionally predisposed to these types of hazards, to always have a plan and be prepared.
For AccuWeather, I'm Bill Waddell.
Thanks, Bill. All right, folks, we have talked about severe weather season, we've talked about hurricane season, but don't forget, it is also wildfire season. And this season has had a very interesting setup so far.
All right, let's go forward right here because I've done seen some of this. Let's go forward right here. She's talking about the good behaviors as well as the bad. Let's stop right there.
And we're still going with some horrible fire conditions there now. Some of that smoke has made its way into the United States, and we will see a bit of that smoke in the Midwest and Northeast as a result.
That's what I was talking about as far as the foliage warming up that has created this atmosphere of a dry tinderbox. And of course we know that the permafrost is melting in the northern areas, so basically the world is warming up from the inside out.
Coming up in just a little bit, I did talk to our own Jeff Cornish, who is not just a wildfire expert, but a firefighter, about the situation this year. Stick around for that.
All right, let's go forward here.
Right now.
And I'm Christina Shalhoub. This time. The best and worst weather of the day.
Best
You
and
go
worst
first
of the
this
day.
time. Go
Let's
ahead.
go to Reno, Nevada. Now listen, this is well below normal, but boy, this is a beautiful day. If you're in Reno in June, temperatures should be well in the 80s at least. We're talking about temperatures in the 70s, and it stays comfortable over the couple of days. And look at it, a little cool this morning, pleasant this afternoon. AccuWeather real field temperatures closing in on 80. It's a beautiful day.
I can't fight you too much on that one because I had kind of a similar mindset.
Salt Lake
I went to
City,
Salt
yeah.
Lake City. You know, it's similar. polar, right? You have the 70s, you have the sunshine. And by the way,
Nice.
both Reno and SLC had some thunderstorms for, I would say, a solid stretch with our upper low. So it's like you're getting the benefits of the turnaround, right? That flip in our weather pattern. You'll notice it's going to be beautiful in terms of those AccuWeather real field temperatures and the forecast temperatures. The real field
Right around
hardly-
80 degrees as
Yeah,
well.
that's pretty solid. I think it's a tie on the first one.
Hot versus thunderstorms. That's what it's come down to, because Tampa, we've already had a wet morning. We've had thunderstorms with wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour. We have more thunderstorms today. While we have a high temperature of 89, much of today is going to be in the 70s because of the thunderstorms.
So I stand by, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah,
And I
here we
would want
go.
to get out of Houston right about now. I have family down here. My in-laws are
Hot.
in Houston. And look, I was on the phone with them yesterday, and they were like, even going in the pool does not make it feel any better. It's miserable. You want to click on those real feels for me?
Yeah.
Oh my, seriously?
111.
That's
It
miserable.
is hot, so it's either the heat or drenching thunderstorms.
Control room, Tony. Oh, Tony! That is 2 out of 2. Thanks,
Huh.
Tony. I appreciate your vote. Go ahead, be salty.
I don't know what all that was about, other than extreme weather patterns that once more is part of the damages that we're doing to the earth, because it's taken things out of normalcy into abnormalcy. All right, let's stop again.
Solstice in just about 3 hours. In the meantime, here's what we're covering for you this morning.
Daily downpours. Several states will have to deal with drenching showers and thunderstorms. Severe weather is still a factor in some spots. We have the latest.
Tracking Brett, the second named storm of the season is racing toward the Caribbean. This comes as another system has a chance to develop. See what we're tracking right now.
Topsy-turvy weather. A pattern moving into the northeast will bring a surge of heat and new concerns over air quality. See who will feel the greatest impacts. AccuWeather Early starts right now.
Well, let's kick things off here with a look at the national forecast. We'll get you out the door this morning, and I think it stands out pretty well. The area in the southeast we're looking at, not just for storms, but drenching rainfall, too.
We also have a line of severe thunderstorms. We'll be diagnosing that for you north and west of Wichita, Kansas. Our thunderstorm zone in the plains, west coast, nice weather. And nice weather, well, nice. Let's call it dry weather across the central U.S.,
Yeah,
right?
nice enough. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll take what we can get at this point, right? Chicago, Minneapolis, Kansas City, upper 80s, low 90s with sunshine today. And then, well, you keep the sunshine in South Texas, but you pay the price of...
All right, see right there in Minneapolis, right there, 93 degrees. That should be temperatures in the late July, early August, whenever the nation is basically in its fullest peak pertaining to summer. Those temperatures down there in Texas right now, they should be more in July than in the middle of May.
Feeling like you're on the surface of the sun today. It's going to be very hot.
Notice that temperature in Atlanta today, 73 degrees with thunderstorms, and it is the southeast that once again is our top story. They are bracing for multiple days of heavy rain the rest of this week, causing the flood threat to grow throughout the region. Now, on Tuesday, flooding was reported in Alabama, North Carolina, and Florida as that upper level low continues to be stalled for the next 2 days.
Now, today we are still looking at that potential of not just the soaking rainfall, but some severe weather as well, stretching from Georgia out toward Virginia. We're going to keep a close eye on everything, considering we could see up to or even more than in some local spots, 8 inches of
8
rain.
inches of rain.
Yeah, I'm counting the numbers coming up in just a few minutes. But Bernie, kick us off here as we take a live look at Bradenton, Florida.
Yeah, where it's been wet, stormy as well. Look at those dark clouds in the background. We've had a wet morning across the Florida Peninsula thus far. Yesterday we had the storms too. Take a look at the storm reports across Florida. Also, we had some big time hail. Tennis ball size and grapefruit size hail across Louisiana yesterday. So as we told you, the severe weather threat a lot farther south yesterday than the day before, but that trend of it being farther south will continue today because our upper level low, which yesterday was between Lexington and Nashville, is now between Nashville and Atlanta. So it's a lot farther south. And with that, where do we have all the energy associated with the upper low? Not underneath it where we have the cold air, and there's certainly going to aloft, and there's certainly going to be some thunderstorms. But you can see on the water vapor loop, where do you have things moving quickly? The dry air denoted by the yellow, the moisture by the white and the green, everything moving quickly on the southern side of that upper low, which is mostly out in the Gulf of Mexico here this morning. I can show you to another way. Take a look at our upper air map. Notice the yellow and orange across the Florida Peninsula. That's where we have the wind energy. Watch where that goes. Here it is from Jacksonville, Tampa toward Orlando. The other area is out into the Gulf of Mexico, so I don't think we're going to see much in the way of severe weather across the central Gulf Coast states today, but Florida, certainly, we're going to be worried about that today. Already some rain and thunderstorms around Apalachicola, around Tampa, around Bradenton, rating in Orlando this morning. And this zone is going to be active all day today. We'll zoom on in, and there's that rain and some lightning from Palm Harbor toward Tampa, toward Lakeland. Another pretty strong thunderstorm offshore, so this is going to be coming in towards St. Petersburg and Largo here within the next half hour, 45 minutes, with some gusty winds and also some heavy rain. Notice that area from Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Bradenton, rounds of thunderstorms throughout the day today. Meanwhile, underneath the upper low, Montgomery, Atlanta, Columbia, not that there's not going to be thunderstorms, there will be thunderstorms with downpours, but I think the threat for severe weather much lower the farther north you go today. That temperature in Atlanta, 73 degrees, that's deceptive. Normally they'd be dancing in the streets in Atlanta with 73 degrees, but it's a cloudy day, it's a wet day, and it's a humid day. The farther west you go, the more likely you don't get the thunderstorms, Christine, and the warmer you're going to be today.
Yeah, sticky and steamy in some parts of the southeast and even the south central. But let's dig into the rainfall that's going to keep us cooler in places across the southeast. And unfortunately, it's also going to keep that flooding threat around for a large portion of the southeast and mid-south as well. Take a look at our watches and warnings here on your screens. You can see the area in forest green stretching across the Great Smoky Mountains.
Once more, we're going from not enough rain to too much rain, and we're seeing this pattern only increasing and not decreasing. The weather is becoming very unstable. I was at Paris yesterday, and I talked to my uncle about this, and he agreed with me that he can see where the storms are increasing in intensity, but also they're increasing with the volume of how many that we get now towards basically being more severe. I just wanted to show a little bit of that
mountains down through Atlanta
in regard towards what's going on in our world that we can see steadily changing on a day-to-day level. This is another area right here. It's going on over here in America, pertaining to some people that wanted to take it upon to themselves towards being adventurous. Please listen.
Those on board are holding out hope.
I'm very optimistic. I'm keeping positive.
The Ocean Gate expedition sub left St. John's, Newfoundland Sunday to explore the Titanic's wreckage, but less than 2 hours into the trip, it lost communication with its mothership. The Titanic sits more than 2 miles below the North Atlantic Ocean's surface. The U.S. Coast Guard say the deep water makes the search more difficult.
You're dealing with a surface search and a subsurface search, and frankly, that makes it an incredibly complex operation.
Rescue crews in both Canada and the U.S. have searched an area about the size of Connecticut.
The Navy has been in touch with the Coast Guard and is working to provide personnel, such as subject matter experts, and assets as quickly as possible.
Crews are using sonar technology to try and locate the sub. On Tuesday night, they picked up banging noises. It could be a glimmer of hope.
Now, a Canadian aircraft also picked up some of the noises, and the U.S. Coast Guard deployed a remote operating vehicle to try and pinpoint the exact location of those noises, but they have been unable to do that, and that is going to be key in the next several hours as they try to determine the precise location of this vessel. That is, of course, the most important information that they need in order to attempt any sort of rescue operation. In the last hour, we watch as one of the Canadian Coast Guard boats that has been docked here at the harbor where we are pulled off and sailed into the ocean to join the rescue mission, which is underway. we're live in Newfoundland. I'm Gloria Pasmino. Back to you.
Yeah, with our partners, CNN News Source. Thanks, Gloria. All right, let's take you out to the U.S. Virgin Islands, Christina.
Yeah, live look at St. Thomas this morning. The clouds moving in, a little cloudier than it was, give or take, about 2 hours ago. But the reason we're looking at St. Thomas is not because of the clouds. It's because, well, the bigger picture here, it is hurricane season. And, you know, we are watching Tropical Storm Brett. We're also watching one other area in the Atlantic, Bernie.
Yeah, we're tracking dual areas. I do want to get with Brett first. Here's the latest on Tropical Storm Brett. It's located about 500 miles south-southeast of the Windward Islands. That's the southern part here of the Lesser Antilles. The movement west at 16. Now, yesterday afternoon at one point, this was moving at about 20 miles per hour, so it has slowed down a little bit. Maximum sustained winds up at 60 miles per hour. I want to show you the AccuWeather iPath, which continues to take Tropical Storm Brett briskly to the west. Now, it's in an area favorable for development or conducive for development for a short period of time. Christina keeps talking and I keep talking about the window. Here's the area: 15 degrees north, 60 degrees west. If it stays south of 15 degrees north and east of 60 degrees west, there's a little pocket where it's conducive for development. What do I mean by that? You'll notice when you look at this water vapor loop, where do we have all the dry air? In the unfavorable area north of 15 and also to the east of 60 degrees west. That dry air and wind shear would weaken the system, but it's south of that dry air and the shear zone. Not that conditions are pristine for development. That's why we don't think this is going to be a hurricane, but we do think it can strengthen a little more until it hits that 60 degrees west line, which is just near the Windward and Leeward Islands. There's our iPath with the center of Brett coming right over St. Lucia Thursday night. And then there's going to be weakening in the Caribbean. I showed you that once you went west of 60 degrees west in the Caribbean, there's wind shear and dry air. And in fact, there's already been, the decision has already been made to weaken Brett to a tropical depression or even a tropical rainstorm once we get towards Saturday night and Sunday morning. And quite honestly, it could even weaken here as we get into Saturday morning as it approaches the longitude of Hispaniola. So this is going to be a weakening system in the Caribbean. The biggest impacts, I think, are certainly going to be the northern Windward Islands here. This is Guadalupe. This is Dominica, Martinique, and St. Lucia. So it's Martinique and St. Lucia that I think will have much of the gusty winds with this system, where we have wind gusts 70, 80 miles per hour with this, and certainly the heavy rain, strongest from Guadalupe towards St. Lucia. There will be some impacts across southern parts of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. But again, the worst impacts south of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. AccuWeather Early will be back in just a moment with the best and worst weather.
Problem here with soaking rainfall repetitively over the same areas, and we're going to watch that rain from Florida all the way up through, as you mentioned, Bernie, the Mid-Atlantic today, and then there's got to be somewhere with nice weather. Look across, I would say, the western U.S., Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, and Chicago, Minneapolis, Kansas City, not bad today.
And there's a problem area on this map, too. Around Atlanta, 73 degrees in Atlanta. That shouldn't happen this time of the year. When it does, that means we have some rain, and our top story today is the southeast, bracing for multiple days of heavy rain the rest of this week, causing the flood threat to grow. Now, we already had flooding on Tuesday reported in Alabama, North Carolina, and Florida because of this slow-moving upper level low.
Yeah, this has been a huge problem here, and today we are looking at additional rainfall in the south and severe weather as well. It's like salt in the wound, right? We've had days of severe weather across the southeast. Today we will see both areas of severe and the drenching rainfall, so we're going to track all of that, considering we could see double-digit rainfall in some places by the end of the week.
The wettest area today is going to be Florida, including Tampa. We've already had some heavy rain. Boy, we've seen a slowdown all morning on the roadways. Rain has let up a little bit, but we have more on the way. When you take a look at the severe weather yesterday, it did occur right where we thought it would be, across Louisiana. Notice we had some wind reports in the Gulf of Mexico, and then it was the northern northern and central Florida peninsula. The reason we're getting the severe weather yesterday was their upper level low, right? The day before, 2 days ago, it was across southern Ohio. Yesterday it was between Lexington and Nashville. That pushed the severe weather south. This morning, that upper level low, well, north and west of Atlanta, so it's come on south. And that means the severe weather today, I think, is going to be a lot farther south.
But they're not putting into the equation towards the area in Texas heating up, the ground actually heating up, and everything goes from the west to the east, because that's, the planet spins the opposite direction. They're not putting into those equations, and that's what's building these large thunderstorms either in the New Orleans coastal area or over in towards Florida. Once more, I can't tell people how to run their business. They do a good job whenever it comes to looking at what's going on above us, but they need to start looking at what's going on below us. Thank you for listening. Good luck to each and every one of us. I want to say thank you for your time. God bless America. God bless our troops, and good luck to all of us. Shalom.